Hello, beautiful souls out there. I hope you're able to get out in nature like Starlight. Are you out in nature? So Starlight has not made it out in nature yet, but today is a rainy day right now, but right now I have got lots to do in where I am. But anyway, Starlight is reaching out to all of you, and I hope you're able to get out in nature sometime in this weekend. Is to we a lot of times got to make ourselves do things that we don't want to do. And if you're one of those people that don't like to get out, and a lot of times we got to change our routine around and make adjustments and then reward yourself later and say, hey, you know what? You did it. And I don't know, you can reward yourself with a healthy snack. Sorry, Starlight's got an itch. Or go out and do something special for you and say, you know what? I did it. And God will bless you. God will bless you in the long run. When you go and do things that you know is going to be more beneficial for you than, do things that are not going to be beneficial for you. So anyway, if you are new to my YouTube channel, welcome. And you could find me on YouTube, and that is at Starlight, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. Plus, you could give my videos a thumbs up, and you could subscribe to my YouTube channel. And don't forget, you can leave me a message down below. Beep, beep, beep. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Swing by and say hi to Starlight. And you can also share my videos. This morning, I was amazed. I was like, oh, wow, look at that. I can't believe I seen that right out my son's window. It was a hawk on a fence. What does that mean? Huh? What does it mean when you see a hawk on a fence? Or what does it mean when you see a hawk? So it was a young hawk. It wasn't a big hawk. It was a little small one. So yes, you could share my videos with a hawk, and I am going to say an eagle. Plus, you could check out my playlist and find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that is Kathy with a K Dingman. And also, I want to say a big, huge thank you to all of you who have been here, loving and supporting Starlight, and those of you who I met in person, that you might have helped me along the way, and God already blessed you or will bless you with anything that you do to help other people out. So thank you for those that I met in person that has helped Starlight along the way. And those of you who watch my videos, subscribe, give me thumbs up, leave a message, or even share my videos. Plus, if you want to give or send Starlight some extra love, you can on my Cash App, and I will have the information here on this video so you know where to go and how to bless Starlight, because Starlight is out here on a mission with God. So anyway, now today is, are you waiting for something or someone to save you from the situation that you're in? I'll tell you what, most of my life I was waiting for someone or something to come and save me from myself. Really, that really is a kick in the ass right there. I was my worst enemy, really. I really was. And I didn't know that at many times in my life, but I was my worst enemy. Some people might point fingers at everybody else why their life is going the way it is. But, it really has to do with who we are and what we allow in our life and what we accept, what our choices are in life. What kind of choices do you make? How do you respond or react to situations in life? And we go through many, 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 many tests throughout our whole existence, starting off at when you're a kid. And, I used to be one of those people that's like, how did I wind up here? Not here, where I am right now, but long time ago. I'm like, what the heck? Why do I struggle so much in my everyday life? I mean, I have lived hell before I even was born, through my parents, my mom, of course, and all the way until, things were, like Still rough. Even after 2016, I was going through a lot through 2016, and that's when I started going through a spiritual awakenings where what the heck is going on? That will be another story at another time. But through my whole life, my life has been a living hell. So my whole life, going to church, and that of course didn't work out either, is going to a building that they called church, and so that was another lesson that I had to learn, is like, so when I went to one cult church after another occult church, I found myself lost. I was confused. I didn't know what direction to turn anymore. And in those years, though, when I came from that cult church, I was stuck into that for 7 straight years of hell. I was like, God, I didn't talk to God for years, all the way up until I met my mentor on his YouTube channel. And that is how I ended up falling back into a relationship with God. I would say God's name. I never cursed God out, but from 2007 all the way to, that's a long space in time, to 2016, I was confused. I was lost. And so Starlight went and did her own thing. Oh yeah. Starlight went out and did some funky, crazy stuff because I knew something was wrong my whole life. I'm like, come on, who has life so rough? I mean, like through my whole time. I mean, like some of you who've been with me have heard a lot of stories that I've gone through. Have you ever heard anybody say, or maybe you are one of those people, I should have been dead a long time ago, but God had a plan. God has a purpose for me. That is why I'm still here. How many times I've tried to end my life from the age of 10 all the way up until the year of 2023. So wow, a lot. Well, actually 22, I think. So wow, how am I still here? And how many times have we been throughout? Think about your life. How many times do you think you could have died, but you are miraculously here still today, breathing, waking up the next morning? I've talked to several people on this journey, how many men and women is like, I've heard of men talking how their body they've been in a hospital and they have things in their body that puts their body back to, they're like, they got put back together by a doctor, people that had motorcycle accidents, people that have been served in the services, that they've gone through hell, and they were lied to and they went through hell by being deceived, by going out thinking that war was going to solve everything, that fighting was going to solve all of our problems, but it never has and never will. So have you ever wondered, like, what the blank, all this time that, just one thing after another, and it just kept on going. And so my whole life, a good part of my life actually is I look back and I'm thinking, well, how did my life start? How did my life start? It didn't start in a positive note, before I even, while I was in my mother's belly, there's parents out there, that do things while their babies are in their bellies. There's a lot of people that when they have a baby, they don't want that baby. There's a lot of people that weren't thinking and they have unplanned pregnancies. So there's a lot of women out there and couples that, they didn't have protection and whoops, both of my kids were unplanned pregnancies. I was too young to understand when I had my daughter about even, birth control and all that. I never went to high school, but I wanted a little girl. Even if I was 16 or 17 years old, I wanted a little girl because I was already a mom at a very young age in my own life. So have you ever thought of, like, why are you where you are right now? Why do you struggle so much? Like those of you that know that your life has been hell from the beginning all the way through. Like you didn't ask for those things to happen when you were a kid, right? No, yeah, no, you were innocent and bam, shit happens, to a lot of little kids out there, boys and girls. So Starlight always, I've always had a huge heart for everyone in my life, children, everybody, teenagers, elderly people, handicapped people, homeless people. I have a huge heart for everyone. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. Believe me. And it's okay. So if you see flaws in my videos, if you hear me say things that are not accurate or correct, and that's okay. That's why I don't edit my stuff. I want to accept who I am, flaws and all of it. Now, how many of you can do that? Oops, slip of the tongue while you're making a video, but keep it there to say, yeah, that was me. I worded that wrong, or I didn't really clarify myself on that. And it's okay. We're not here to be perfect. So, but how many of you who might be a light worker like Starlight that has gone through hell, maybe, that was something that we signed up for and we might not understand that. Some of you might understand that, like you signed up, to go through a family like that so you can learn lessons. So then God is going to use you later on after all the hell that you've gone through. Now you're going to take all that wisdom and knowledge, and not only that you went through hell, even before, like with me, before I even came out of my mother's womb, is to keep, sorry about this dog thing here, to keep your heart right with those people, not to wish evil upon them, to wish them well and to bless them for what they've done. Isn't that a bitch? That is I'm just being as real as possible. If you don't like my language, this is how this is. It hurts. It's painful. And then you wonder, how did I get where I am now? How did I get, and then, because that's what I did my whole life. How did I get here? How come my life is still, no matter how hard I tried, no matter what I did, no matter what positive changes, even when I went to church, even when I was living my purest life, shit hit the fan. I ended up going into a occult church that was beating kids with rods and opening up their skins with these rods by beating them so hard. And I realized I couldn't even, I didn't even fit in with the church. I didn't agree with anything that was going on from the moment that I was in and the moment that I was out. So it was like, why did this happen? Why did that happen? Why, why? And I didn't realize until I found my mentor, Infinite Waters, Ralph Smart, it wasn't why, it's what is God trying to show you? What is the universe trying to teach you? What are you supposed to be learning? What, the things that you went through when you were a kid. Those are, it is a painful way to learn, right? Those of you that know what pain is like and, didn't have a family that was always protecting you. And, like there's families out there, they overprotect their children. Now the children lives in fear every day. Ooh, got to protect you from this, got to protect you from that. They're just in this bubble, they're always afraid of something's going to happen to that baby. And then other parents are totally different. They don't even, they might even not even care where you are. You could be gone all day long, lost out in the woods, and nobody would even know it. But, so there's different kind of families out there. People, there's families out there that they want you to leave that house. They don't want to see you, and you don't feel loved. And then you look at your life where you are now and you're like, how did the blank did I get here? And then you backtrack, this is what I've done many times, backtrack, okay, just like going time travel, but going all the way from where you are now, all the way back to where you started. And so the shortcut is to go from where you started and then work your way back to where you are now. How did you get to where you are now? I've had to do this. I don't know how many times I've done this in my life. And I realized there was something freaking weird about this world. I knew there was something screwed up with it. I just didn't understand it until now. So if you're that person that's been out there wondering, what the heck? No matter what, have you gone to church and thought that you found the answer and then found out it was just a cult church, another thing that you had to learn, and another thing that you had to, you had to keep your heart right with those people. Imagine this, after you go through so many things, God wants us to pray for those people that did some wicked shit to you, to keep your heart right. That's what a light worker is about. That's taken that negative energy that you've gone through, that dark time, and turning it around and forgiving them and praying for those people and asking God to bless those people after you've gone through the pain. So a lot of times when we go through so much pain like that in our life, we're looking for a way out. We're looking for, how can I get out of this? Because no matter what I've done my whole life, it just seems like things don't work out for me. Relationships, jobs, even going to church. That's why I say things when I talk about church, because I had to go through that. That's a part of me being a light worker, a chosen one, is light workers and chosen ones. This is the path that they had to take. This is something they signed up for. And you're thinking, that's madness. Why would I ever go through, what was your life like before? Well, you went through a lifetime like this, before, at another time on planet Earth, and something happened in your past time where you're like, yeah, sign me up again for this, God. And I never could understand that for the longest time, and just until like maybe a year ago that I understood it, is when you start getting healed from all the crap that you've gone through, and when you do the inner work and you really get serious about yourself and your life and build a relationship with God, and you forgive other people, and you keep, not that you're perfect, but you're keeping your heart right with yourself and God and other people, reaching out and sending love out in the world. I never could understand that about myself, is how could somebody go through so much hell in her life and go out and help so many other people? That's a tough thing to do, but that's who I am. Even though I've been knocked down and pushed down and, had my face slammed in the mud, I still get back up and able to help. Like yesterday, I just gave a homeless person some money because he was out there on the side of the road. You know what? It blesses me to bless others. It really does. That man didn't expect that. I was like, I had to hand the money through the driver's side, so it was a long stretch and waiting for the light to turn green. And, just to see that man, how happy he was to just receive. So that is what it's about. That blesses me. Just because I know that I have a huge impact on people's lives, whether I'm aware of it or not. So I was always waiting for something to come and save me. In the church, they're like, oh yeah, Jesus come back in the clouds. Boy, did I ever wait. I've been waiting. When does Jesus come back in the clouds? Then I thought, well, I believe Jesus is like an alien. I mean, like, look at all the things that Jesus could do. I try to be like Jesus in the church. They didn't want me to be like Jesus. They wanted to keep me small. They wanted to keep me in the box. They want to conform me. And I refused. I refused to be conformed. I believe in being who you are, unapologetically. So I was waiting for, because I've been in connection with aliens my whole life, waiting for them to come and rescue me out of here. I've been in connection with those through especially my spiritual awakenings, and they've been with me. I got stories on my YouTube channel. If you haven't checked those out, you can look up Spiritual Awakenings or anything with the alien playlist, and you'll hear crazy ass stories of what Starlight has gone through. These stories are true stories. They are strange. They are bizarre. So warning, when you go in those playlists, warning, red alert, Starlight is going to say things just the way it happened with no apology at all for the words that I use, but those are things that I've experienced for real. So that opened up my eyes to a whole new thing in this world. So what I realized is that no, the aliens are not going to come and save Starlight like I was praying for and hoping. I'm like, when are they going to come? They were always there when I needed them. They always helped me through. You know, when in 95, when I was going through a lot, going through an abusive relationship, they came to me then, you know, and it really did it. And that was the year that I ended up accepting Jesus in my heart way back in 95. So that was a powerful time in my life that year. You know, I lived in fear every day to how am I going to get out of a relationship out on the country road without a car with 2 kids? How am I going to get back out of this mess that I got myself into? You know, it's a long, you know, I couldn't just like walk away, you know, with 2 kids. It was a long distance just to get to town, you know, so there's a lot of times we get ourselves in situations like that to find out who you really are and show you how strong you are. And those are lessons, you know. So no one's coming to save you. Is what I learned is you got to save yourself. When we sit here and think, hey, I don't have to do anything with my life. I could just do anything I want because I believe something's going to come and save me. Well, then all that time is being wasted where you could be working on yourself. You could be letting go of people that no longer serve you. You can actually start reading and studying about things. Like right now, I'm reading my Bible all over again, you know, because there's times I made videos and I had the names all mixed up, you know. So now I'm refreshing myself all over again like I used to do, is reading my Bible, because now my relationship with God is beautiful. So instead of waiting around, you know, when are they coming to pick me up? Or when is Jesus coming back in the clouds? You know, what I found out long time ago is, and this really changed everything in my life, is that I realized that I am here to help create the new earth, which is, you know, like the 5D, is that I was going through hell my whole life, even when I found church. And I realized that I didn't have to stay at that low frequency, that low vibration, that I can rise to a higher vibration, the 5th dimension. Now, doesn't that sound alien? Like, yeah, but there are other dimensions. So we got to do that work. Stop waiting for something to come and save you. Instead, you can ask God for help so you can save yourself. We can ask other people for help. That's great. We need each other. But to sit around thinking that something's going to come back, you know, and to pick us up and take us out of here like I used to, I really did. I was waiting for the aliens to come, land their spaceship. So there's a lot of people out in the world are waiting for a spaceship to come and save them. But you got to watch out for that, because the government, you know, they could have a fake alien invasion to make you think, hey, yeah, these are the aliens you're waiting for to get picked up. Imagine that. If I believed that the aliens were going to come and pick me up and I just didn't do anything, I lived like the devil, went out and fornicated like a dog, and went out and drank alcohol, and went out and smoked my dope and listened to music, go to the bar and dance around and, you know, draw men's attention towards me, you know, because Starlight's a sexy ass dancer and a singer, bring all kinds of problems in my life, you know, and that's the flesh, that's the ego, you know, doing all that work, is trying to get attention from other people, but in the wrong way, you know, then then it draws all this attention towards you, but it's the wrong kind of attention. Have you ever been there? Like wearing the wrong kind of clothes and wondering how come all these guys are, you know, and that was Starlight long time ago. I wore really bad clothes, you know, and it was drawing all the kind of wrong men that I didn't want in my life. I realized, wow, you know, this was bringing all kinds of it was bringing all kinds of stuff, you know, the kind of men that I didn't want nothing to do with those kind of men anymore, because those men wouldn't be helping me to become my greatest version. Those men wouldn't help me to be the change that I want to see in the world. Hang on, Starlight's got to open a door up here to get some air. So yeah, it's stop waiting for something to come and save you. Instead, get busy. Get busy. I am so serious. I am the happiest girl in the world right now. And now I understand why I would sign up for something like this, to do it all over again, because the joy and the peace that I've actually received, and the lessons that God has taught me on this journey here, the beautiful stories that I can actually tell other people of what God has done on this beautiful journey, of self-discovery, on this, and we're all on a journey, but where are you going with your story? What are you doing? Are you sharing the things that God is doing in your life? Or are you out there getting distracted in the world, and getting pulled, to and fro, just having the wind blow you around wherever it takes you, and, going into relationships that that, you got red flags going, but you just, hey, I'm lonely, I'm desperate right now, I'll just take anything right now. And then later on, you're like, how did I get here? Well, it's the choices that you weren't thinking clear. And that's why it's so important to really protect yourself with the energy, your, like I said yesterday about being drained. If you're around people that are not going in the same path as you, they're going to take you in places that you don't want to go. And it's going to give you energy that, is not going to be helping you to go in that direction that really God has desired, has planned for you, and that you desire to be. God's got the greatest thing for you as far as any desires that you can possibly have. And when you realize that, you know what? When you start getting healed and you start doing that inner work and you start finding out how strong you really are and the love that God has for you, it is the most beautifulest relationship you can ever have, is when you really work on yourself and you really get alone with yourself and you find God with you every day, and how God can guide you and direct you and put you through like what I'm going through. I'm going through training here. So don't expect me to be perfect on my YouTube channel, and I don't expect you to be perfect, but what it is, we need to work on ourselves, point blank. If there's been definite times. Have you ever had those feelings like your world is caving in and you're like, shit, if I don't do something right now, I'm going to lose it all? But sometimes we need to go. Sometimes it's what we need. We need to just hit bottom, in order for us to rise back up. But isn't it a scary ride knowing that you're like heading towards the bottom? And it really does. That it challenges us. It pushes us, just like when COVID. How were you during COVID? Did you just like, it's just a virus out here. What's everybody, how did you respond? I'll tell you what, that was my wake-up call. That was my freaking wake-up call. That was when everything turned around in my life, is the COVID thing. That really changed my life for the better. There's times people get upset when we have things like that, because a lot of shit can happen. But those are the times when you're really gonna work your ass off to do something about it, or you're just gonna go and follow what everybody else wants you to do. And that's the worst thing you can do, is go along with what everybody else. Hey, take that injection. Starlight, yeah? Did you take the injection? Absolutely not. They came up with that injection. Where did it freaking come from? I mean, I was with somebody at that time, an old friend of mine that I thought was a friend of mine, and he watched that news all the time. Before I know it, boom, it just came out of nowhere. It's like, how did they even try it out? Well, they were going to try it out, right? We were all, the ones that took it were the guinea pigs. I'm sorry, but yes, that's what they do with the doctors. They use a lot of patients. They are always pushing the medication on people. There's a very few doctors in this world that know that medication is not always the answer. So stop waiting for somebody to come and save you. You have to save yourself. You're the one that has to make the choices in your life. Don't let other people make those for you. That's how we get tripped up. By even with COVID, having people tell you that, hey, you're going to lose your job if you don't get the injection. Are you going to be that one caving in? Or are you going to be that one that stands out and says, no, I refuse? let them do whatever they want to do with me, but I am not going to take that. You want to fire me? Good. God's got something better for me out here, because there's things in the, you don't know what's in these kind of injections. Some of you might have studied and you might know, and you're like, oh, I can't believe how many people, and they're still getting them. So don't live in fear. You got to have a relationship with God, and it does take time. It's taken me all these years, and I have to thank my mentor that God put him in my life to help me to build up a relationship with God. And now I'm reading my Bible again, that I didn't do since like 2007 or even 2008. I have not picked up my Bible in all those years until my mentor, God used my mentor in a great and mighty way to help me to get back with God. So I am so grateful for that. And I just stop waiting for somebody to come and save you. But there is a new earth, and that is what you want to do. And it's in the Bible about the new earths, new moons, and all that stuff. Is the 5D, the fifth dimension, is the love frequency. You don't have to stay in that fear frequency where most of the people are staying. You could rise above and be in the fifth dimension, the love frequency. So you got a choice. What do you pick? Fear or love? I just seen somebody wear a shirt the other day. It said, faith or fear. Are you going to have faith in God? Or are you going to listen to everybody else and be afraid of everything and, tuck your tail behind your legs like a dog, and just run and do whatever everybody else wants you to do? We really, if you're going to make it through this life, you got to face your fears, and you could rise to another dimension. And I will talk about that on another video. So I love you. Stop waiting for somebody to come and save you. You got to save yourself. You're the one that's got to do the work. You can reach out and ask for help from people, but you got to do the work. It's up to you. You're the driver. Hopefully you are the driver of your own life. God should be the driver, really. But besides that, you really should be the one that's in control of your life. Don't let other people be the, driving you. It feels great driving your own car. But when I've been in people's cars before where I didn't know where they were going. Kind of scary. You don't know them. You don't know where they're going to take you. So you don't want to be, in the passenger seat or in the back seat when somebody is controlling your life. Reach out to God and ask God, what do you want me to do? What are you trying to show me in my life? And so I have other videos on my YouTube channel that really will help you to understand what God is really trying to tell you. So anyway, I love you so much. Stop waiting for something, because time is ticking. A lot of people think they have all the time in the world. Hey, yeah, I'm young yet. I'll tell you what, bam. Now you're what age? Bam, it happens that quick. My grandson, at one point, he just was a baby. Now he's turning 6 years old. I heard another lady like, wow, her age. She's like, wow, time just goes flying. So I love you so much. This is Starlight. You could give this video a thumbs up. You could subscribe to my YouTube channel. Plus, you can leave me a message down below, beep, beep, beep. And you could share my videos with your family, your friends, a donkey or a pig. And also, you can check out my playlist and find me on Instagram at 1995 Starlight, or on Facebook, and that's Kathy with a K, Dingman Starlight. I love you all. Stop waiting. Start doing. Start being. Start being who you're meant to be by being you. I love you so much. This is Starlight. Namaste. This is Starlight Love Light. And